An incredible story here is the FBI may have worked with some people plotting to kill leaders of Occupy Houston back in 2011. That according to a newly discovered FBI document. Now, according to the FBI Intelligence Watch report dated October 12, 2011, intelligence indicated that protesters in New York and Seattle planned similar protests in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin, Texas. An unidentified person whose name has been redacted planned to gather intelligence against the leaders of the protest groups and obtain photographs, then formulate a plan to kill the leadership via suppressed sniper rifles. The would-be assassin's name is redacted from that document. In 2013, Massachusetts Institute of Technology graduate student Ryan Shapiro asked the FBI for more documents on this plot, but was told that those documents did not exist. So Shapiro filed a lawsuit forcing the FBI to acknowledge that, in fact, they did have 17 pages worth of documents on this specific plot. At that time, FBI officials released 5 redacted pages, but they refused to release the other 12, claiming that doing so could threaten the privacy of law enforcement officials and expose undercover sources who were embedded within violent criminal organizations. Well, a federal judge has now sided with the FBI, allowing them to keep those pages secret. Journalist Dave Lindorf wondered aloud about the document's implications in an article on whowhatwhy.org, asking, quote, did the FBI ignore or even abet a plot to assassinate Occupy Houston leaders? Solid information about an assassination plot against American citizens exercising their constitutional right to free speech and assembly never led to the exposure of the plotter's identity or an arrest. I spoke earlier with investigative journalist Derrick Broze with the Houston Free Thinkers and someone who was very involved with Occupy Houston. I began by asking him about the feeling in Houston on the judge's ruling.
Well, basically, we've seen Occupy Houston activists and just concerned Houstonians in general keeping an eye on the situation since we first found out about it, and there is still quite a bit of anger, frustration related to the recent decision to keep these documents private, because obviously there was some type of plot that we're yet to know the full details on that involved Occupy Houston activists exercising their First Amendment, constitutionally protected amendments, and there was an apparent plot to assassinate some of us that were involved in leadership positions, and still to this day we are unaware of what group was apparently planning this, what level of involvement the FBI had in it, and with the names of the people who were apparently being targeted.
So you don't know if you were on the list or if others who were in leadership were on that list. And essentially the person, this, I guess, would-be assassin, has not only not been named, but has not been prosecuted or charged in essentially what is a plot to murder U.S. citizens exercising free speech. What does that tell you about the way courts and law enforcement view what you all were doing?
I think it's another example of one rule for the rulers and one rule for the ruled, because in any typical situation where there's a supposed terrorist plot, which is essentially what this is, there's somebody plotting terrorism against other citizens, the FBI and federal government institutions are more than happy to jump on board and to proclaim that they've stopped a new terrorist attack. But in this situation, they did not notify, as far as we know, the HPD, the mayor, or the activists themselves that there was some type of plot and that they may be in danger. Instead, they've chosen to keep it swept under the rug and to refuse to release any details on it. And I think that really points to possibly, I don't want to say that the FBI was involved in this in some way, but if you look at the history of terrorist attacks and the history of the FBI entrapping people and then calling it terrorism, I think that there are some worrisome implications here.
Well, not only did they not simply notify those who may have been the victims here, or at least were going to be the intended victims here, but the FBI lied about it, originally saying that these pages, this information, didn't exist at all. Then came back when they were forced to in court and admitted, okay, in fact, there are 17 pages of this information. When you read something like this and you recognize that, again, the FBI didn't act on this, but was aware of it and has done nothing to bring this person to justice or on their own expose it, does it raise questions about some of the other, agent provocateur stories that we've seen throughout the Occupy movement and in other movements as well?
Absolutely. Some people in Houston may remember, I doubt others remember, but in November 2011, a month after the official Occupy Houston movement launched and the movements launched around the country, there was actually an individual who came downtown to Tranquility Park and fired a gun several times. He fired into the air, he fired into one of the pools in the downtown park, and he was then shot and then arrested by the police officers, but we've never heard more about that. And in my mind, if I could speculate for a moment, I believe that it's a possibility that that person may have been involved in this so-called violent organization that the FBI was aware of, and that was tied into in some way. We've never heard more about who that guy was, or what, if he was involved in this plot, and then shortly after, of course, we find out more about this. But I do want to, thank Cherie Dorr and the Occupy Houston activists who have stayed on this since the beginning and are really trying to shine a light and show other people that this is not just about the Occupy movement, this is about Americans' rights in general. If the government is aware, or as the Who, What, Why article said, possibly abetting a plot to assassinate American citizens and then refusing to give details on, this is something that we should look into, and hopefully at some point the lawsuits that are still pending will reveal new information.
And we'll have to continue to follow it. Derrick Broze, investigative journalist and organizer with the Houston Free Thinkers, thanks so much.